again, everybody. It's Kevin Canessa coming to you from the home studio today on this, the 13th day of August in the year 2024. Sure hope you're enjoying your Tuesday, no matter where it is you are in the country. Beautiful 79-degree day here in the Northeast in downtown Kearney, New Jersey. So I hope you're enjoying the beautiful day today. And there is a lot to get to today. But before we do that, and we get into this week's newspaper, there are a couple of upcoming events that I need to talk to you about, and I want to remind everybody about. First, tonight is the rescheduled National Night Out from 6 until 8 p.m. I think a lot of towns canceled last Tuesday because of the weather, and a lot of them are having them tonight at different times of the day. But in Kearney, National Night Out is on Belgrove Drive between 6 and 8 p.m. by Veterans Field. So if you had plans to go last week and you don't have anything to do this week, it is tonight between 6 and 8 p.m. at Veterans Field on Belgrove Drive. Now, tomorrow, this is big. Tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. at East Newark Borough Hall, the Borough of East Newark will be having the second reading of its ordinance, which would, in essence, scrap the chief of police position and replace it with a civilian director of public safety position. You know, last week, and if you didn't, I hope you'll watch the interview that I did with Lieutenant Stephen Rogers, who is, of course, retired from the Nutley Police Department and a longtime member of the United States Navy. He spoke with me last week, and he says that this is a very, very dangerous ordinance that would cause a lot of chaos in East Newark if it is indeed adopted. And it is possible that it could be adopted tomorrow night at 6:30 at the council chambers over on I think it's Sherman Avenue in East Newark. So if you are a resident of East Newark and you are concerned about this ordinance, which could become law tomorrow, your chance to speak out against it comes tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. at East Newark Borough Hall. There is a hearing that takes place as soon as they read it for the second time. Members of the public are permitted to speak either for or against the ordinance. And I believe in East Newark, the allotted time to speak is 5 minutes. So if you have concern about the direction that this ordinance is going to take the borough of East Newark in, and you should if you are a resident of East Newark, we highly suggest you go to that meeting on Wednesday between 6:30 p.m. because it's your only chance. If it gets adopted tomorrow, too late. And I think, as Steve Rogers says, it's going to open up the borough to a significant amount of litigation. So that's tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. Saturday, the second Kearney Public Schools uniform distribution is from noon to 3 p.m. The exchange is from noon until 3 p.m. The time changed. They lowered the ending, moved the time up for the ending to 3 p.m. Things went so smoothly on Sunday for the younger kids. Now, this was originally supposed to be for just grades 7 through 12, but if anybody missed it, this past week they had to change the date because of the pending forecast on Saturday. Of course, it held up, but it was still probably for the better that they moved it. A lot of people couldn't make it. So the update, the second date is Saturday, and it starts at noon, goes until 3 p.m. And if you weren't able to make it last week, you may attend it this time on Saturday of this week. It starts at noon, goes through 3 o'clock or until supplies last. And then, of course, on August 20th, that is 1 week from today, the town of Kearney will host its rescheduled council meeting at 7 p.m. at Town Hall Chambers. As you may recall, last week the meeting was canceled, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was canceled because certain members of the council were too busy on vacation and doing other things to find their way to the council chambers at the regularly scheduled date, a date that was announced in January. I still can't believe this happened, but it did. But the rescheduled date is August 20th. It starts at 7 p.m. at the council chambers. So if you do go, you'll still have an opportunity because I don't know if a decision will be made for Juan Barroso by then or that night. I know there's supposed to be a meeting with some of the higher ups, perhaps even as early as today, to discuss his case. But as of today, as of August 13th at 1:35 p.m. Eastern Time, Juan Barroso is still suspended from his duties at the Kearney Fire Department, which is just mind boggling when you think about it. But on August 20th, it is the rescheduled meeting. And of course, Juan is more than likely going to be there. And if you want to go and speak out, this is your chance to do so. Now, Melanie Ryan sent me this, and I'm supposed to be speaking with somebody from the VFW, but their centennial is coming up and they will be having a celebration on the 24th of August from noon until 6 p.m. You can see it right here on the screen what they will be serving: burgers, hot dogs, corn on the cob. There will be also all sorts of entertainment between a DJ booth, bouncy house, a dunk tank, a sack race, egg races, cornhole, and I'm sure there will be more. Non-veteran adults, the cost is 15, children $10, and the nuclear family is $40. You find that at VFW Post 1302, which of course is 300 Belgrove Drive. So if you don't have any plans for August 24th, this is a great night, a great day to celebrate 100 years of Kearney VFW Post 1302. We'll have more on that in an upcoming edition of The Observer, but of course, congratulations to them as well for hitting the 100-year mark. Now, this week's edition of The Observer, this week's front page story comes to us via Laura Compton. You know, think about making summer school fun. And those words don't always or very often go together, summer school and fun. But the program in the Harrison Public School System, it's a reading program and they do other things as well throughout the whole summer, was wildly successful again. And these kids wind up not wanting it to end. That's how much fun they have and how much enrichment they get over the summer months. And the program did come to a conclusion recently, and Laura recaps it for us. So I can't say enough good things about this summer program. I've been hearing about it from Laura for the last couple of summers. And it seems to me, just based on the photos that she sends every year, that it gets bigger and bigger every year. There's more and more kids who want to sign up and who wind up going. And it's just a great job by the Harrison school system for putting this together. It's a very, very successful program, and I think it's one that would probably be beneficial in other communities. Don't know if it would necessarily work in larger communities, but they do a phenomenal job in the town of Harrison getting this program off the ground, and it has turned into a huge and a wild success. Now, the story on the bottom, I am very hesitant with all of this because there's a lot of misinformation out there and there's a lot of correct information out there. And I'm not going to get into the details and the nuts and bolts of it, but I will tell you this. There's a story in this week's edition of The Observer about the EPA's plans to potentially allow toxic sludge to be dewatered in Harrison with dioxin, which is the root of the chemical Agent Orange. Now, whether it's actually Agent Orange seems to be in debate because there was never Agent Orange placed in the water, I'm told, in Harrison, but it was, in fact, in Newark. That's what Mayor James Fife told me. And I spoke with him again today before the broadcast today. But later on this month, the EPA will be hosting a meeting at Harrison High School. And at that time, they will explain to the residents of Harrison what the plans are, what's going to go there, what won't go there. And then, of course, it's going to be at that point in time that Mayor James A. Fife and Harrison Town Council finally decide whether they're going to come out in favor of this or whether they'll come out against it. Now, they have not comment. Mayor Fife did give me a comment for this week's edition of The Observer, but he said it would be irresponsible of him to say, yes, we're against this if we don't know what we're against yet. And he says that the EPA hasn't fully briefed him or the town council on what will happen here. Now, it's, I would say, a very important meeting for residents of Harrison to attend and for residents of nearby communities, East Newark, Kearney, to see what they want to do. To dewater Agent Orange, it could be dangerous. It could be, but they have to explain this first before people get up in arms. We don't want anybody to be in panic at this point in time until the EPA says exactly what it is they're doing. And the bottom line is, to this point, they have not. And they have made comments in a Zoom meeting. I will tell you that. And if you wish to view it, you can see it on John Pino's YouTube page. Search John Pino, Pinho, and it's the second video that he's got up there, and you'll be able to find out what they said. But still, some of it is very confusing. And, when you get into scientific language and things of that nature, it worries the crap out of me. So that's coming up later on this month. Find the date in this week's edition of The Observer. And again, may I suggest, if you are so inclined, especially residents of Harrison, you attend that meeting, which will take place in a couple of weeks at Harrison High School. Now, before we move on, I want to welcome in two people who are in the chat room today. There's a bunch of you watching today, but so far, my friend Carmen De Jesus has joined us. Carmen, good to see you. And my dear friend Manny Ventoso Jr. is also here as well. I can't imagine where in the world is Manny Ventoso. He'll let us know, I'm sure, in the chat room. He could be anywhere in the state of New Jersey, working on a project. Luckily, it's not too hot today, so hopefully wherever he is, it isn't too bad. And God willing, everybody in the building that he's working in is alive today. So we'll see what happens there, Manny. Let us know where you are if you're still around. This story came to us from Vinny Autiri, the Lyndhurst, back in Woodridge. Oh, boy. Okay. Oh, boy. All right. Well, Manny's in Woodridge. I'm not going to get into why I got all thrown off by saying Woodridge. It's not because it's a terrible place. It is a great place, but just a lot to get into. We'll get into it another time. Lyndhurst Police Department made an arrest in a shoplifting case. This guy was driving in Short Hills, and the police nabbed him there. And it turns out he was a credit card fraudster as well. So this guy was taken in, and there's all sorts of charges that he's facing now. This is Shannon Clancy. She is from North Arlington, and she recently graduated from the United States Naval Academy. Her mom sent us this, and we congratulate Shannon on her phenomenal accomplishment, because that is really remarkable. 4 years of hard academics and physical training and the stamina and the mental side of all of that. We are very proud of her, and I'm sure Mayor Dan Pronti would say the same thing as well, that it is always great to see when one of North Arlington's people do such great things, and that is exactly what she did Shannon. Now, we have a review this week of, I'm going to pronounce this for you because a lot of times people say, we heard so many pronunciations of the name of this place. We heard Magoo, we heard all sorts of things. It's Maguey. Cocina Mexicana, Mexican restaurant. They are where the old Santani used to be. And then it turned into Lido's. We know the history of what happened there at Lido's, closing down after a couple of months of darkness in that place. It was always so dark and dingy in there. But we had a chance to speak with the owner of Maguey, and he is offering there a very authentic Mexican cuisine. This is not like walking into a Chevy's or into a Taco Bell or any of the Tex-Mex restaurants that you guys have been to, because it is completely different. It is pure Mexican cuisine. Everything there is just the way you would get it when you were in Mexico. So I had some of the things that they made. We tested the menu, and it was very, very good. But it's just so different. Authentic Mexican cuisine than the stuff that you get at a Tex-Mex. I can see Melanie just asked on the screen. We also welcome in Melanie Ryan and Melanie Pasquarelli, who are both watching us. Melanie, good to see you both. Melanie. I think this might be the first time we've ever had the two Melanies here together. Melanie says that they have fried ice cream. I do not think so, Melanie, and I don't think I'm not so sure that's an authentic Mexican dish. I don't know. But we'll see. I'll check into it, but I don't think it's on the menu either. uh, real Mexican places like Nevada and Texas is very awesome. And Melanie would know because she lived in Nevada for a couple of years. Most people don't realize that. So she says it is okay, but I don't think they had it on the menu. But I'll double check. But if you're looking for something authentic, try the place. You know, they are not up to par yet. When I say up to par, they're not drawing a lot of people, but the food was very very good. Everybody, I'm telling you, it was really really good. And you know, I think what's happened when Centani first closed, everybody knows that the operation that Robert put on at Centani was, I mean, the best. I mean, there's just no other way to look at it. When people needed to go for a quick meal or wanted to get out of the house for a couple of hours or whatever it was, whatever the reason, you went to Centani. And Robert always kept the menu very similar over the 27 years that he was there. And there's a lot of people who just say, well, it's not Centani's anymore, or Bensi, because don't forget it was called Bensi for a little while too. But and then when the Lido went in there, they tried to replicate what they had in Hackensack, and that wasn't ever going to work. It just wasn't. The Lido in Hackensack is very dark. It is very old school. In some places, it was very dirty. You know, they had these napkin dispensers that were probably from the 1950s, and the grease on them showed. But there was a whole score of people it has a cult following who would go to the Lido in Hackensack, and they thought they were going to get the same thing in North Arlington, and it just didn't happen. And so now Marco Torres, who is running this maguey in the same spot, is trying to develop a new audience. And don't think just because it's authentic Mexican too that you can't get things that you would normally like. So, like Melanie asked if they had deep fried ice cream. I would bet if they don't, they ask for it. If it's not on the menu, they'd find a way to get it for you or make it eventually and do a dish for you. So I just hope people will give it a try because I'd like to see Marcos succeed. He's a nice guy and he has put a lot of effort into the place. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. The work he's put in there, and there's some incredible artwork too that was painted on the wall. You see this here, this person that you see on that picture there, that was hand painted, and there's more on the in the back room. Most of you will remember the back room, which was where they would have private parties and where they would have funeral repast and things of that nature. It's really a neat spot. So I hope you'll give it a shot if you're looking to try something different. What's the worst that can happen? All right, so check it out. This week, my editorial is about the stunt that the town council pulled last week by 5 of them not showing up for the council meeting. I'm still a week out, scratching my head that this is even a thing, that it even happened. It doesn't happen elsewhere where things like this happen, but it happened in the town of Kearney. One of them, Eileen Eckel, was quote unquote on vacation, knowing that that date was picked in January. And then for the other ones, 2 of them texted the mayor the day of the meeting to say they couldn't make it for baloney reasons. The only one that had a legitimate excuse for not being present there that night was Councilman Dennis Solano, whose family was exposed to an illness. I was incorrect. It wasn't COVID. It's something else. But he was the one who did the right thing. The rest of them, this is inexcusable when you consider that. And I'm going to just throw this up on the screen if I still have it as a reminder again that Juan Barroso is still suspended, and 5 of them decided not to show up. I mean, what kind of people do that? What kind of people do that? And that's all I'm going to say on that. So you decide for the rest. As Melanie just said, the dates are known even in October so that they can give them the calendar. It becomes published. They approve it on January 3rd or whatever it is. I mean, and it's just mind-boggling that they did this. But again, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, the meeting's a week from today. They rescheduled it. Kearney's Junior Police Academy had its graduation on Thursday of last week. You know, Adriano Marks and his gang, Vanessa Sevillano and Ryan Brady and Jordan Miranda, who just joined the team of the community oriented police unit, did another amazing job. I'm going to sit down with Adriano and the rest of them this week sometime and do a recap of it coming up. But it grew. I think Adriano told me, or maybe it was Scott McPhee, that there were 50 cadets this year, if not even maybe more than 50. And that is just remarkable. It's a 2 week program. The kids go in sometimes, they're like, I don't know if I want to go to do this. And by the time it's over, they don't want to leave. And they all do a great job. And I think I also noticed Court Montanino was at the graduation. You see the picture on the screen there. That is Jordan Miranda. Then it's Mina, Councilman Faceto, Mayor Doyle, Chief McPhee, Vanessa Sevillano, Sergeant Mike Gonzalez, Deputy Chief Paul Bershevsky. That's Court Montanino right there. And then at the very end, Councilwoman Mary Trine DeCastro. Do you notice something about that too? The three members of the council who were there for the graduation were also the ones who were able to show up or would have shown up at the council meeting last week. I don't know. Is there any connection to that? That was 2 days later. I guess all the things that they had to do on Tuesday continued along into Thursday and made them unavailable for going to the graduation to the Junior Police Academy, too. Or maybe they were there and they just weren't invited to be in the picture. You can't show up for a meeting, you shouldn't be in the picture for the Junior Police Academy. That's interesting. They did not attend. Melanie's got the answer there for us. And as Melanie Pasquarelli says, too, they really do a fantastic job. These kids wind up taking so much from the week that they spend together. Now, there were 4 new police officers who completed the academy last week. And oh, wait, once again, let's see. That's Councilman Jerry Faceto, and that is Chief McPhee with the 4 new officers. That is also Councilwoman Mary Trine DeCastro, along with Stephen Marks, the business administrator, and Deputy Chief Paul Bershevsky. So that's great. Mary Trine works sometimes in Connecticut, but she was able to make it, and so was Councilman Faceto. But and I know Mayor Doyle had a second commitment, or she would have been there, but she was doing something else. But again, wow, it's the same people who keep showing up to all these things. Where are the other 6? Again, this was another day. I think this was Friday, so I will presume that they were still on vacation and predisposed from whatever it was that predisposed of them 3 days earlier that made them unable to make the council meeting as well. So they wouldn't even show up for 4 new police officers being sworn in and graduating from the academy. Jason Bernstein has sports this week. Back to the Future. John Miller's son has become the coach. Scott Miller is now the head coach of the Kearney High School varsity soccer team. He replaces legendary Billy Galka. Can you imagine this? In 50 years, in the last 50 years, since 1974, which was a great year, by the way, there have been 3 coaches of Kearney High School soccer: John Miller, Billy Galka, and now Scott Miller. Congratulations. You talk about legendary, that name Miller is, and so is the name Galka. But Scott takes over a program, and he's got perhaps the most enormous shoes ever to fill, because they are of 2 people, in his dad and, of course, for Billy as well. The Kearney Generals cheerleading team was in Honolulu earlier this summer, and Jason was able to get around to recapping their incredible second place finish in Honolulu. So we have that this week. Please check that out. And this coach, Corsetto, has signed on to be the varsity coach at Kearney Christian Academy. And believe it or not, I believe he is 78 years old, 78 years young, truly. So he's doing some good things at a later stage in his life. We congratulate him and wish Kearney Christian Academy all the best as they begin their new basketball season later on in the year. Don't forget, there are 2 pages of classifieds this week as well. So a lot of rentals that most of us probably can't afford because they are very, very expensive. So do check those out when you get a chance. And if you're looking for a job, or if you're looking for some services to be offered, you'll see that right there. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Melanie reminds us, too, that Mary Trine and Jerry were also able to attend the Elks Monthly Breakfast, and Mary Trine and Carol Jean helped deliver the lodge a bunch of new clothing to the Safe House at Clara Moss. That is great, Melanie. Thank you for reminding me because I should have mentioned that earlier. Um, they're always there. They are. And the others are not. Simple enough. Thank you, Melanie, for reminding me. I appreciate that. And some 78-year-olds are better than 28-year-olds. That's right. And I can think of some 78-year-olds who have no business being anywhere near the public eye. How about that? All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this week's edition of the Observer Live. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. Don't forget, we will be back here 1 week from today with more news. But of course, if anything breaks in the course of this week, we will join you live there instead. So, from the home studio today, it's Kevin Canessa signing off for now. And we hope to see you back here again very, very soon. And before I go, I just want to say thank you to Melanie Squared and to, let me just scroll back, John Drimkowski, who I didn't get to say hello to. Excuse me, before I sign off, Jin said Lyndhurst had a police director in the early 90s, and it was when I believe it was on the board of adjustment, but it didn't last long. I'm not surprised to see that, John. These civilian directorships do not work in small towns. They just don't, and it's not going to work here in East Newark. We'll see what happens. And we thank you for coming by. We'll say goodbye to Manny and Carmen. We'll see you again next week, everybody, from the home studio. Take care.